It's
over in
FCL
Montreal.
Trade, a
Yeah.
subsidiary of NeuroTrader here in Canada.
Okay.
And that's
Um, yeah, Lev is helping them test the Neuro Edge device and all the technology that goes with it. They're basically reviewing the system for use within the prop trading firm. They will soon be joining the other funds that are using the NeuroTrader technology. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time announcing this tonight. I just want to say that later on in the webinar, we will be discussing a mentoring program that Ken Medanic has kindly and very generously offered to do for the group. So we'll be talking about that a bit later on. Without further ado, I'm going to Lev now. Are you with us,
all
Lev?
right. Yes. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you though. You got a camera?
No, that's it. The camera's not gonna be going. I'm moving here. It's a mess, so I'd rather not have that shown on the camera right now. But
Okay.
hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's really a great pleasure to be amongst you, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that the information that's going to be given you today will, in some way, shape, or form, inspire you or give you that little nudge that I got myself when I started this. So obviously, as you know, we're going to be talking about trading and peak performance and what does it take. So my story a little bit before we start, very short. I started at 18 years old. I'm 24 years old. Traded for the first time at 18. Tried many different methods, tried many different technologies, and really never got anywhere until a year and a few months ago when I got the chance to meet Ken Medanic and started trading through the principles of psychophysiology, which is of course why we're here today, and I wouldn't trade any other way. So let's get on with it. And so, what is peak performance? Peak performance is a state of mind. I realized myself that peak performance is we tend to picture the peak performer as an athlete, someone who strives for his goals, someone who is a go-getter, someone who um, doesn't stop. We all have this image, right? The Usain Bolts, the Roger Federers, the Floyd Mayweather of this world. This is a peak performer. And sports is just an analogy that we have that we can practically see and admire. But in reality, is a state of mind. A peak performer, the result of everything that encompasses peak performance. So that means that it's not so much as a goal, because peak performance is not a goal, but it's a result of many different aspects in our lives that we perform our best consistently, and therefore from that we become peak performers. So I'm sure everyone here, we already did a task where we were in the zone where you're not completely, you're so immersed in the task that you're doing that you're not even monitoring your thoughts. So you're doing your task and you're performing at your best, and so you're as if you were flowing, as if you were surfing. That's essentially what is being in the zone. And through what we're doing, you're able to reach that state more consistently with more practice. And this is especially what I'm going to talk here today about how peak performance, it's all about being patient. And I'm going to go ahead with the next slide here. And so, what does it take to become a peak performer in trading? Before we even become a peak performer in trading, let's just be a peak performer in life. So, I'm sure we've all heard all the nice tips about how it is to be a peak performer, about how it is good to sleep well, to eat well, and then you got these very strict diets, you got these very strict standards to follow. That's great. That is great. But one thing that we don't really say in all these books and all these methods is ourselves, right? So I don't know about you, Derek, but for me, for instance, I need 8 hours of sleep, right? Every night, every night. Some people function very well on 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that is great. But I know that for me, I need like 8 hours. And so before anything else, we spend a third of our lifetime sleeping, right? Or almost. So you might as well make sure that the rest that you get is the best rest you can have, right? So sleeping enough, and that is realizing what is best for you. It doesn't matter what any book is going to say. 8 hours is standard, but again, if for you 4 hours is fine, well then it's to establish that routine and consistently get into the 4 hours where you can perform at your best, where you feel energized in the morning and you feel confident in your ability. You know, sometimes it's normal. You wake up in the morning, feel a little bit dodgy, you're like, I don't want to get on with the day. It's okay, that's normal. We can't always be 100%, but we can strive for it. And of course, that goes on with eating well, right? So eat what you think is best for you and your body. Again, if you don't like vegetables, don't force yourself into feeding something that you don't like, because that's just going to build contempt in yourself. And so the idea is, say we've always, let's say for me personally, I like cake, right? I'm sure if
Who
any
doesn't?
in
Yeah.
here likes cake as well, I like cake, but it doesn't mean that I bulge in cake and I go ahead and eat a lot of cake, but I don't restrict myself because restriction essentially just means that you're building that willpower, but there comes a certain point where, well, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and devour every cake there is out there because you force yourself so much into doing what you don't like, and so it wasn't natural. That nature always comes back, right? So it's a matter of habit, and of course, with sleeping enough, eating well, that's they're very solid. We're getting to exercising consistently. If we've never exercised before, we'll always say, all right, let's get on with 4 or 5 days a week, very strong, heavy lifting. Let's get on with the powerlifting. But if we've never lifted in our lives before, that is too hard on ourselves. So what we do, personally, what I started doing for myself, let's say push-ups, right? Or it's a matter of doing one push-up a day, even. That sounds ridiculous, right? I mean, I was thinking, why the hell would I do one push-up a day? Well, let's try and do it. It's so ridiculous that it's so easy that it won't require so much effort, right? Well, let's go ahead and do it. And for the first week, every single day, we do one push-up a day. So one push-up Monday, one push-up Tuesday, one push-up Wednesday. You get the idea. You build that. Second week, you do two push-ups. If you continue every single week, at the end of the year, you're doing 52 push-ups every single day. And that's just out of pure consistency, out of doing the same thing over and over and over again, slowly, slowly. And that's, I struggle with it myself, when we want to have that instant vacation where it's like, I want it now and I want to run away. But everything takes time. And if we give ourselves time, but do one thing very small every single day on a consistent basis, that's how we build the discipline that is then going to be necessary in trading at the end of it, right? So, fourth point, I love an environment. Um, it's important, absolutely important to surround ourselves with people that care about us, that love us, that appreciate us. When we spend energy criticizing, where we spend energy justifying ourselves, we're wasting away energy that could be used in other areas where you could use it to exercise better, eat better, sleep better, in any other area as well. So, and that means to be really, for that, I'd say you have to be completely unflexible. That's probably compromise can be made. Sometimes we have to let go of the ones that are closest to us, not because, we don't love them. Actually, it's the most loving thing that we can do. A peak performer in trading is someone that is ready to do it for the trading. So that means that, of course, you have to create your environment. So if there's something in your environment that's not congruent with becoming a peak performer to what it is that you see a peak performer as, because again, the way I see a peak performer may not be the same as you see a peak performer, but we all have a general idea of what a peak performer is. And so it's very important. Again, the environment is absolutely important. Friends, family, girlfriend, boyfriend, very important to surround ourselves with the right people. And that's when we can start checking into our current habits. You know, are there any current habits that we have that we know, we all know as people what is good and bad for us, right? I'm sure if any of us smokes in here, well, I'm sure that you know, if we get told, oh, you smoke, that's bad for you, we know this is bad. You know, it's not like we're dumb and we're like, yeah, you know what, I know this is bad and I'm still gonna do it. No, it's more ingrained. We know. So it's a lot of work, but it's to really check ourselves in the mirror and say, all right, I know this is bad for me. Does this help my peak performance? Does this help my attitude in achieving peak performance, right? If it doesn't, well, drop it. It's as simple as this. It's to be really, really like, all right, this has not helped me so far in my life, then I need to drop it. And again, it's important to give ourselves time because habits generally, I'd say probably 3 months of consistent practice generally gets rid of a bad habit, right? For me, for instance, I used to be someone who was very undisciplined. I used to be coming late a lot to work, coming late to meetings, coming late to everything. I was an absolute mess in that respect. But now it's the opposite. Not that I went to the opposite spectrum. No, it may still happen sometimes that I may come a minute or two late because it's all habits, right? So it takes time. But I'm a lot better than I used to be before. And so it is definitely very, very, very possible. So whatever habit that it is that we have, it is possible to change it. There's no such thing as a peak performer who says, well, I'm just like this, so I'm not going to do anything about it. That just doesn't work. That's just in accepting defeat, and that just doesn't work as a peak performer. There's always a way to change ourselves, and that's the beautiful thing as well, because we always have an opportunity to become better, and that's great. That's, I think, personally, is very inspiring, of course. And then through all this process, we need a love of the craft, right? Whatever it is we're doing, that voice, that intuition, that soft voice that is always talking to us, right? We all have it, that voice which is very mellow, very compassionate. It never judges, never tells you you're bad, never tells you, you know, you haven't done something properly. It's always in respect to you, and it's always telling you, hey, you know, let's say for me, for instance, hey, Lev, yeah, continue on trading. Yes, it's a tough journey, but continue. And it's that voice, it's the love of the craft. If and that's just simple. So to imagine whether or not do we have a love of the craft for what I do for myself sometimes, just to remind myself, I say, all right, I imagine myself that I was not trading anymore. How do I feel? I start getting, you know, knots in my stomach. I start feeling uncomfortable. I start feeling sad almost, right? So therefore, for me, it's pretty simple. I just continue. And that is how we, because a lot of sometimes, personally, I've read a lot of self-help books, motivational books, a lot of these things, and it's always about loving what you do, being the best that you do. But it's not true that, you know, you wake up in the morning and you're feeling super giggly and super funny and super amazing. No, it happens that sometimes, you know, doubt comes in, fear comes in, and that's perfectly fine. That's the ego, right? The ego doesn't want to change your identity, but it's a good thing when you can hear doubt and fear. That's exactly when you need to continue, because the ego is scared of change, right? We always have two voices in our head. The loudest one is the ego, the softer one is the intuition, right? So when it's screaming, you know that's the ego. And we're always making a choice either based in love or fear or love of the craft. If that small voice which is telling you it might just work, listen to that voice, continue on. And of course, self-compassion. Again, this takes time. Whether it's peak performance in trading or any peak performance in anything. Again, it's to think that peak performance means being the best at what you do. The thing that will achieve being the best at what we do tomorrow is rather foolish. But is it possible? Absolutely, because it's out there. there's even a word for it, peak performance, right? So it's out there. And so self-compassion, right? Listening into our inner thoughts, not fighting the thoughts. Well, personally, what I would do sometimes is I would judge myself for having a thought, right? I'm sure we've all done that. So, oh man, why are you thinking this? Why are you doing it like this, right? And so, no, you shouldn't think that. But what this creates, it's sort of paradoxical because you're judging a judgment. Therefore, you're not really out of the loop. So, what is it you do? A much more gentle approach. When that happens, you say, all right, let's say I'll never succeed in trading. Let's say I have that thought that comes into my mind, right? I'll never succeed in trading. I tell myself, all right, I might never succeed in trading, but what if I can? And then you just let yourself feel the what if I can. It just opens up the door for, all right, shit, this is possible. I may actually do it. And once you've assembled all these things, that's when we can talk about peak performance in trading, right? Because we've developed so much self-discipline over sleeping, eating, exercising, having a loving environment, having great habits, the love of the craft, and of course we've developed our self-compassion. Well, of course, that all becomes peak performance in trading. So when we make a plan in trading, we execute it religiously. We don't, or at least if we doubt, we recognize the doubt and still take the shot because we trust ourselves enough through everything that we've done, right? Through the sleeping enough, through all the good things that we've done. We're like, man, I've done so much good work on myself that whether or not the shot works, it's all right. I'll still come back tomorrow and still take another shot. And that's the beauty of all these things put together, which at the end become peak performance. It's easy to say to, follow your rules, follow your trading discipline. That's super easy. But if we've never done that before, well then it's there's quite a gap between following rules and how we're used as people, right? And so that's where it all comes down to peak performance in trading. And of course, like I was saying, how do I apply all this? You start small. You start infinitely small. Going back to the example of one push-up a day, and I'm using exercise because exercise is a very good analogy for this. One push-up a day for 1 week. Second week we go 2 push-ups a day. So for trading, it could be one trade a day, or even not even in a trade, to build that inner strength, that muscle inside, that patience. Try to just watch the markets for, let's say, an hour or two and not even take a shot and just hear what thoughts are coming out, right? The markets are a reflection of how we're perceiving life, right? So we're going to hear, oh, all right, this is going to go up. Oh, this is tanking. Oh, shit, I should have gotten in here. Oh, shit, I should have gotten in out. To listen to what happens inside of our minds as we're watching the markets. Now, this could be a good step. And of course, there's a step-by-step process. Before we become profitable, we need to be break-even, right? I'm personally a break-even trader. I look forward to the day I'll become a consistently profitable trader. And of course, well, I'm glad because I went from a losing trader to a break-even trader to eventually becoming a profitable trader. But of course, I recognize that this takes time. And so it's the same thing again. Being really gentle with ourselves. Peak performance is being at your best. Being at our best doesn't mean that we have to be the best of this world, but we can definitely be the best version of ourselves. And so it's a very individual path. What I'm giving here today, of course, are general guidelines and what worked for me and what still works for me. And so this is how we can apply this. Peak performance is a state of mind. It's a result of combined things that were given in a previous slide, the combined aspects that results in peak performance. And by doing all this, then we become more certain of ourselves, more confident with ourselves, and our trading at the end of it becomes better. It becomes more fluid. We become more certain in our trades. We don't doubt ourselves anymore. At least if we doubt, we recognize the doubt. And so again, but before we even talk about trading, it's to be a peak performer in all other aspects of our trading. You know, I'm thinking of myself. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I was talking with a good friend of mine, and he made me realize personally that I wasn't necessarily a peak performer in all aspects of my life. So I'm like, man, you know, how can I think about becoming a peak performer in trading if I'm not a peak performer in other areas of my life? It's, you know, it'd be like foolish to think that, you know, we can become the best trader for ourselves in trading and still think that we can, you know, go on ahead and get drunk, get get drugged and whatever it is, and have bad healthy habits. That's foolish. That doesn't 1 plus 1 doesn't compute. It just doesn't work, right? So it has to make sense. It has to be congruent. And so that's the most important thing. And again, it's being patient with ourselves. You know, this is not going to happen right tomorrow, but it can happen. It's very possible. I've personally gone from, again, being very undisciplined to someone that is disciplined, and even further beyond. I still have a lot of work to do, but it's very possible because I've seen the changes in my own life. And so it's the same thing here. I look forward to the day I'm a peak performer in trading at my best. I'm still not my best, but I can make it. And so it's the same thing here. Again, being very, very gentle. Of course, my own example, I wrote it down. I highly suggest a pen and paper, right? Because we ourselves are our best coaches and best friends. There's no amount of advice, there's no amount of book, there's no amount of reading looking for that magic pill that is going um, to give us that magic solution. We ourselves, deep down inside, know exactly what is best for us. And what that means? Well, that means taking a pen and paper, and that's my own example, right? So I wrote down the question, what does it take for me to become a 60% winning trader? And that's exactly what I got. So sleep a minimum of 8 hours every night, preferably at the same time. Knowing myself, being gentle with myself. It may happen that sometimes I may not be going at the same time, but I'll strive for it. Again, being patient and gentle with ourselves. Work out 3 days a week. This I can absolutely do. Eat well. Live on my own. Of course, you're seeing. Work part-time for stable revenue to keep the head above water so that I may still concentrate all my energies on trading and not having to worry about the finances, right? And so, and of course, I entered into university because I'd like to eventually specialize myself in cognitive neuroscience. And I recognize myself again. I didn't resist what came out on the piece of paper. I just took a pen, and this is exactly what came out. I'm a very social person, so I the word go out and socialize at least once a week came out. This is what for me is required for me to become a peak performer, but it may not be the same for you. This is why. Again, it's very, very important. I'd like to put emphasis on this, on pen and paper and asking ourselves the question, writing it down, and really having the answers come out. We ourselves know exactly what is best for us, right? And of course, at the end, follow the plan I create in the planning process religiously without doubt. That's a given. Whenever I take a shot, plan a shot, I take it, even if the market is going not my way. I learn to respect my plan because when we don't respect our plan, what we're subconsciously communicating is, I don't trust myself, so I won't take the shot. And so, of course, having a plan, again, there's no magic solution in the markets. The markets are unstructured, right? So as humans, we want to put structure into something that has no structure, which is fine, but it's for our own state of mind, right? So that's why the plan is very important because it allows us to have structure in what is essentially the ocean, right? The market is like an ocean. There is no structure. It goes up, it goes down. But a plan allows us to have a certain structure, and therefore to follow it religiously allows us to be more confident in our plan. It allows us to tweak it over with time to get more in tune to what is really happening in the market. And of course, if you so happen to eventually adopt principles of psychophysiology, well, then you learn to tune in with your own body and to tune in with your own self and to know exactly when it's time to take a shot and when it's time to sit back. And yeah, yeah. Well, actually, before we go on ahead with the questions, I just wanted to say that, of course, as Derek mentioned very well at the beginning of this webinar, is that Ken Medanic is actually offering free mentorship. Personally, I think it's a great, great idea. I've learned immensely from Ken Medanic and over his life experiences and what he's gone through. And all the great books in the world are saying that you need to always have someone to listen to that is where you want to be. And personally, I enjoyed being, I still am a student of Ken Medanic, still am a student of NeuroTrader, and I could not recommend any better mentor than Ken Medanic, especially if it's free. So of course, if anyone's interested, just shoot a message at the end of the conversation or contact directly on meetup.com in the meetup group. And or unless you have any other way, Derek, I'm not all aware of it. And yeah, and of course there's a Facebook page right down at the bottom left, NeuroTrader Tech. Join us, join in the conversation. We're posting things once in a while, so that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I think I presented everything roughly well. If, of course, you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear your feedback, what it is that you'd like to know about, because it's been quite the journey for me. I'm loving it, and I look forward to the day I can give another webinar and show you that I'm now a consistent, profitable trader.